This game is going to require you to read. This game is going to require you to research. This game is going to require you to compare. And when you don't want to do that, you really can't win at this game. I know some of y'all did not want to hear me say, go read, right? That was a trap. Just tell me, nope, you got to read, right? So now I'm going to go read and say, okay, do I understand these companies, right? First and foremost, I just want to understand what? The profile. Why? Because you may think you understand Goldman Sachs until you read and say, oh, I didn't know they did this, this, and this. You may think you understand Chase Bank until you really get into that profile and understand what they do. So once you get in a profile and understand who they are, the next thing you understand is this. How do they make money? All right, family, so some questions that I've been asked a lot is, Trap, how do I research a stock? So what I want to do is I want to just give you some keys that'll help you navigate the game. Of course, we got the Wall Street trapping course. Of course, we got the trapper method. But I also want to be able to give some people some valuable information that can help them along the journey so they can understand truly how to break these companies down. Just for a beginner, I want you to first understand, wait, before we get into that, man, I want you to I want you to subscribe, get into this channel. We truly gonna go all in on educating you on just how to be a savvy investor. So one of the first things you want to ask yourself is what sector is the stock in, right? So we all know that there's 11 sectors in the stock market. So you want to ask yourself, what sector is the stock in? That's first and foremost. Now, when it comes to breaking down a sector, what I need you to understand is, let's say you're in financials, right? So that can be broken down into so many different ways. It can be broken down into insurance. It can be broken down into banking. It can be broken down into payments, right? It can be broken down into investment banking, right? So I'm just giving you just some of the ideas of how you can break that down. So what I would do now is, once I figured out that financials that I love, I now want to go into the different sectors of banking and see which one of these do I understand more, right? Because insurance is a completely different breakdown than regular banking. But inside of this banking, you also got what you got, investment banking. But then you also got, watch this, regional banking. All of this is different things, right? And then you want to say, okay, are you in a payment? That's your Visas, MasterCards, right? So understanding these things are important, and they all ran differently. And so the next thing I want to know is, what gives me an advantage in either one of these? Which one of these industries do you think is the stronger? Is it investment banking? Is it payments? Is it the regular banks, the regional banks? So the regular banks, we get JP Morgan, Citibanks, right? But then you go a little smaller, you go with Capital One, you can go with KKR, all of these are right here. And then you go insurance, you go Allstate, Berkshire Hathaway, right? You go Allstate, you go Berkshire Hathaway. So none of these. So now what I'm asking myself is, which one of these sectors do I see as the most powerful, right? So one, what sector am I going to? Break the sector down and say, what industry inside of this sector is that I feel is the most powerful, and why? The next thing I'll do with that is, watch this, I will go find an ETF for the financials, right? Because you may have a hard time. So now I will go inside of that ETF and see what is the top 10. What are the top 10 holdings in that ETF? And then once I saw what the top 10 holding was, I would look at the Power 5, which means what are the top 5 companies inside this ETF, right? And I would look at all 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I would say, out of these 5, which one do I understand the most? Which ones do I understand the most? Which is going to require you to do what? Go read about the company. I know y'all didn't want to hear me say that. I know some of y'all did not want to hear me say, go read, right? That was a trap. Just tell me. Nope, you got to read, right? So now I'm going to go read and say, okay, do I understand these companies, right? First and foremost, I just want to understand what? The profile. Why? Because you may think you understand Goldman Sachs until you read and say, oh, I didn't know they did this, this, and this. You may think you understand Chase Bank until you really get into that profile and understand what they do. So once you get in a profile and understand who they are, the next thing you understand is this. How do they make money? So what we doing? We going sector to find a company. Then we going to the segments inside of that. And then once we find the segments and we can't decide which segment, we go find an ETF. And when we get the ETF, what do? Look at the top 10 holdings. Once we go from the top 10 holdings, what's the next thing we do? Out of the top 10, we go to the Power 5. Why? Why does this ETF have these 5 as its Power 5? Now we're going to read about that Power 5. And from that Power 5, we're going to say, okay, we're going to ask ourselves a question. Who has the most debt? Who has the most debt, right? And the next we're going to look at who has the most cash. Now, here's the thing, we're really going to get good. Because they all different sizes, all different market caps, one may have more debt, one may have more cash. The next we're going to look at is this, the debt to equity ratio. It's easy to say this company got more cash than this company, but the debt is still high. Or this company has more debt or less. But this debt to equity ratio going to come to you in a ratio that's going to make them all even. No matter what's the size, no matter what they do, the debt to equity ratio going to tell us who is the better company with debt to equity. That's important, right? So just right here, once I do these, I can now come at least with a top 3. Here's my best 3. We go back and say, okay, well, what are the top 3 are in the same segment, Trap? Well, we want to see now who has what is that, Trap? Who has a what? A moat, meaning who has a competitive advantage? Who has the advantage in this industry based on consumers, based on what they do better than another company? These are the things that help us understand. So let's just go over it again. First thing we're going to do is, what sector they in? What sector do I really understand the best? From the sector, we're going to go to the finance, we found a sector that we like. We're going to see what are the different industries inside of that sector, right? Once we figure that, we know they got 11 sectors. What are the industries inside that one sector? Next, let's just go pick out an ETF, and the ETF now has a combination of stocks in this what? Sector and industries. We're going to say, okay, what are the Power 10? So now we know what ETFs, or you can even partner this with 2 ETFs and see how they mixed up. Because watch this. If you go SMH, you can also go SOXX. Guess what? Same sector, which is chips, but just semis, and they did another way. Or you can go oil, XLE, and then you could go another one, OIH. You feel what I'm saying? So now you take 2 ETFs and say, okay, what are they top 10? What are they top 10? Who has the same? Who's different? And why? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. So now what happens is you've now looked at one sector 2 different ways. You looked at one sector. I looked at the semiconductors. I did SMH. I done SOXX. I look at it 2 different ways. I done XLE. I do OIH. I'm looking at it 2 different ways. So now you can even do this way. You can go SPY, VOO. You feel me? We're just seeing the differences in the same sector. So now we get that Power 10. We compare them. We figure out who has the what? Most debt, the most cash. See what the debt to equity ratios is. We put them all together. We pick the best one. We say who got the strongest moat. Once we figure out who got the strongest moat, we make a decision. The next decision is, how much do I want to own? Right? It's just simple. This is not, you ain't in the Wall Street trapping course. You ain't in the other thing yet. You like, yo, I just started, bro. I don't even know how to research a company. This is how we start. You make your first position, you go back, you read your research. This game is going to require you to read. This game is going to require you to research. This game is going to require you to compare. And when you don't want to do that, you really can't win at this game, right? I don't even want you to focus on price in the beginning. I want you to just focus on taking action. That's how you win in this game. Most people are scared to take action. This too high. That's too high. I'm going to wait till it pull back. It's going to pull back some more. Now you done missed it. It just keep running. Now the price you should have bought it at is not a pullback price. Now you're trying to buy it there. Don't do that. Let's start right here. Let's get you in the game. Let's get your feet wet, right? We got a ton of videos on this page that can help you so many different ways. Just take the free information. Come to Trapping Tuesdays every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right? Let's get you in the game so you can maximize and teach you how to build a legacy, man. This is just an introduction to something I would do. I was a beginner, and I want to learn how to get into marketing and research companies, man. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trap. Listen, man, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and truly know that's not me in a chat telling you about Bitcoin, or I have some type of page you need to go to talk to my mentor or something. That ain't me, man. I'm giving y'all this for free, man. I love y'all. I'm out.